German Shepherd puppy refused food for 8 days. Heartbreaking truth. 8 days, not a single bite of food. Only a fragile thread of hope kept him alive. In a cold, abandoned warehouse in the heart of Detroit, beneath rusted beams and broken windows, a small German Shepherd puppy sat motionless. His black and tan coat was dirty and matted, his ribs pressed against tangled fur, each breath shallow, trembling. But it was his eyes, golden pools of sadness, that told the story no words could. His name was Max, though no one knew it then. Every morning, volunteers placed a fresh bowl of food beside him. Every morning, the bowl stayed untouched. The water, it barely rippled. The dust beneath his paws remained unmoved. Max wasn't living. He was waiting. Sarah, a seasoned rescuer, stood frozen near the doorway, her breath clouding in the icy air. She had seen hundreds of abandoned dogs, but this one was different. There was no fear in Max's posture, no distrust, only loyalty, only loss. Sarah whispered softly as though afraid to break the silence. "Little guy, who are you waiting for?" Max didn't move. His golden eyes stayed locked on the rotting wooden door. His tail lay limp in the dirt, except for a faint twitch that left a small streak of dried blood. Something deep inside Sarah's chest tightened. This wasn't starvation. This was heartbreak. Sarah sat cross-legged on the cold concrete, a can of food in her hand. She popped it open, the smell filling the air instantly, rich, savory, irresistible to any hungry dog, but not to Max. She slid the bowl gently in front of him. He sniffed, nose twitching, then slowly turned his head away. For hours, Sarah stayed. She told him stories about other rescues, about dogs who found homes, about second chances. Her voice was soft, like distant lullabies meant to heal forgotten souls. Still Max remained motionless. 3 hours passed. 4. Sarah reached out a cautious hand. Max sniffed her fingertips politely, then looked back at the door. That's when she knew. This wasn't defiance. This was devotion. He wasn't hungry because he was still waiting for someone who'd never returned. The phone rang. Veterinarian Emily arrived to check on Max. The results were exactly what Sarah feared. Max was severely malnourished, dehydrated, his vital signs dangerously low. "This dog has refused food for at least a week. If we don't intervene soon, he won't make it," the vet said. But when they tried to lift Max to take him away, he whimpered in pain, his eyes pleading as if to say, "Don't take me, I still have to wait for someone." Sarah and Emily understood. This wasn't just fear of being left behind, it was the pain of absolute loyalty. In the end, they had to carry Max to the rescue van. All the way to the clinic, Max never stopped looking out the rear window, his eyes following the warehouse until it disappeared from view. At the clinic, Max cooperated with every doctor, but when food was offered, he repeated his old habit: sniff, then turn away. "There's nothing physically wrong, this is psychological," Dr. Emily concluded. Max had chosen not to eat, waiting for something greater than survival itself. That night, Sarah decided to bring Max back to the warehouse. As soon as his paws touched the cold concrete, Max immediately went to his old spot, sitting close to the door, his eyes lighting up with a flicker of hope. Sarah sat beside him, quietly observing. The warehouse felt different now, less empty, more haunted. She searched quietly, her flashlight skimming across forgotten corners, dust dancing in the light. Then she saw them. A small child's drawing, taped to the peeling wall, crayon lines showing a stick figure boy holding hands with a dog that looked just like Max. Beside it, an old dog bed, flattened and frayed, and beneath a broken chair, a tiny, forgotten slipper. Max had once belonged here. This wasn't an abandoned stray. This was a family dog left behind. Her throat tightened. "Oh, Max," she whispered. In that moment, Sarah made a silent promise. She would find out where Max's family had gone, and he was still waiting for the day he could return to them. Sarah pulls out her phone, scrolling through missing pet reports, her heart sinking with each swipe. Nothing. No German shepherd named Max, no desperate family searching. She looks back at the dog, now trembling slightly in the morning chill. His fur, once lustrous gold, hangs in dirty clumps. His hip bones jut sharply, yet still he waits. "Who are you waiting for, sweetheart?" she asks softly. Max's tail gives that same faint thump, hope disguised as habit. Sarah's eyes fill with tears she's trained herself not to shed. In 15 years of rescue work, she's learned that hope can be the cruelest emotion of all. Sarah spent the night researching the warehouse's history. It had been a shelter for homeless families until it was closed 6 months ago. Families were relocated in a hurry, many lost contact. When the dawn light crept in, Max suddenly jumped up, tail wagging, eyes fixed on the door at exactly 7:15 a.m., but no one came. Sarah realized every morning at this time Max hoped to see someone. She started calling social services, shelters, anyone who might have records of the families who once lived here. The search for Max's family had begun. Each phone call brought new leads, new hope. Max seemed to sense the urgency in Sarah's voice. His ears perked up whenever she spoke. His internal clock was precise, 7:15 a.m., the time when his world used to begin with familiar footsteps and loving voices. Day 3. Sarah returns with blankets, fresh water, and a determination to solve this mystery. Max hasn't moved from his spot. The food from yesterday sits untouched, now cold and congealed. She replaces it with something more tempting. Bacon, the universal dog language of love. Max's stomach growls audibly, a sound that breaks Sarah's heart. Still he doesn't budge. She begins her investigation in earnest, canvassing the neighborhood with Max's photo. Mrs. Aurora from the corner store squints at the image. "Maybe," she says uncertainly. "There was a boy, came in sometimes with his grandmother, had a dog, I think, but that was months ago." The trail is cold, but it's something. Day 5 brings rain, turning the warehouse floor into a maze of puddles. Sarah finds Max in the same position, now soaked and shivering. She drapes a waterproof tarp over him, creating a small shelter. For the first time, Max looks directly at her. In his eyes, she sees not just sadness, but a question. "Have you seen him? Do you know where he is?" "I'm looking," she promises, her voice thick with emotion. "I won't stop looking." Max's tail moves again, just barely, but it's enough to keep Sarah's hope alive too. Day 7. The breakthrough came from Maria Santos, a social worker who remembered the warehouse closure. "There was a little boy," she said, maybe 7 years old, with his grandmother. They had a dog, a German shepherd puppy. The boy cried for hours when they had to leave it behind. Sarah's heart raced. "Where are they now?" Maria checked her files. "Emergency housing across town, but they've been moved twice since then. The grandmother, Rosa Martinez, and her grandson, Diego." Sarah immediately called the emergency housing office. The phone rang endlessly. Max sat beside her, as if understanding every word, his tail giving the faintest wag when Sarah mentioned Diego's name. Could this be it? Could this be the family Max had been waiting for? The pieces of the puzzle were finally coming together. The housing office finally answered. "Rosa Martinez?" "Yes, she's here, but she's been asking about her dog for months. The boy won't stop crying about Max." Sarah's breath caught. Maximum. They knew his name. "Can you bring them here?" Sarah asked. "The grandmother doesn't have transportation, and the boy has been sick with worry." Sarah didn't hesitate. "We're coming to you." She looked at Max, whose ears had perked up at the sound of his name. "Max, we're going to find them." For the first time in 8 days, Max stood up on his own, his legs shaky but determined. His tail wagged weakly, but it wagged. Sarah gently lifted him into the van, and Max pressed his nose to the window, as if he knew this journey was different. This time, they weren't leaving hope behind. They were chasing it. The drive across Detroit felt eternal. Max sat in Sarah's lap, his breathing shallow but steady. Every few blocks he would lift his head, sniffing the air, searching for familiar scents. Sarah talked to him constantly. "We're going to find Diego, Max. We're going to find your family." At a red light, Max suddenly became alert, his whole body trembling with excitement. The sky was bruised purple as Sarah and Max sped down the lonely highway, the world outside their windows shifting from gold to grey. They were so close, just a few miles from Diego's town, hope fluttering in Sarah's chest like a trapped bird. The radio crackled with weather alerts, but Sarah's focus was on the road, on the promise she'd made to Diego, on Max's quiet, trusting eyes beside her. A sudden gust slammed against the car, rattling the windows. Sarah's knuckles whitened on the steering wheel. Max sat up, ears pricked, sensing the change before Sarah did. The clouds above twisted, swirling into a monstrous funnel, an unearthly roar rising, drowning out Sarah's frantic heartbeat. She slammed on the brakes as debris whipped past, the world outside dissolving into chaos. For a moment, time froze, the air thickened with dust and fear. Sarah's mind raced. Should she turn back, pull over, pray? But there was no shelter, only the endless, exposed road and the storm bearing down. Max pressed his nose to her arm, trembling but steady, anchoring her in the eye of the panic. A flash, power lines snapped, sparks showering the asphalt. The car rocked, buffeted by wind. Sarah shouted over the din, "Hang on, Max!" She pulled the car into a shallow ditch, heart pounding, as the tornado's tail swept across the fields, tearing up everything in its path. Max whimpered, but didn't look away. His gaze locked with Sarah's, a silent vow that they would survive this together. Minutes stretched into eternity. The car shuddered, battered by the storm's fury. Sarah shielded Max with her body, every instinct screaming to protect him. She remembered the promise, "I'll get you to Diego no matter what," and clung to it like a lifeline. Then, as suddenly as it began, the wind eased. The world fell eerily silent, broken only by Sarah's ragged breaths and Max's soft whine. She dared to open her eyes. Around them the landscape was unrecognizable, trees stripped bare, road signs twisted, the air thick with the scent of rain and broken earth. But the car still stood. They were alive. Sarah's hand shook as she reached for Max, tears streaking her face. "We made it, buddy," she whispered, voice cracking with relief and disbelief. Max licked her cheek, tail thumping weakly, a little battered, a little scared, but unbroken. They sat together in the stillness, the tornado's path a scar across the land and across their hearts. Sarah looked at the road ahead, blocked by fallen trees and debris. The journey to Diego wasn't over. If anything, it was more impossible than ever. But as Max nudged her hand, Sarah felt something fierce and bright reignite inside her. They would find a way. They had to. 6 minutes later, the tension hadn't faded. Sarah stepped from the car, boots sinking into mud, scanning for a way forward. The phone had no signal. The road was gone. She looked at Max, his fur matted with dust, but his eyes clear, determined. Every few steps he glanced back as if to say, "Don't give up now." They picked their way through the wreckage, hearts pounding, the world transformed and unfamiliar. Each sound, a distant siren, the crack of a falling branch, made Sarah jump. But every time she faltered, Max pressed on, leading her through the chaos. The bond between them grew with every muddy step, fear and hope twisting together, impossible to separate. Night fell, cold and uncertain. They found shelter beneath an overturned trailer, huddled together as lightning flickered on the horizon. Sarah whispered stories to Max, voice trembling. "We're almost there. Diego's waiting. We just have to keep going." Max's steady breathing was the only answer she needed. The next dawn brought a fragile peace. The storm had passed, but the world was changed. Sarah and Max emerged, battered but alive, their journey now a legend written in mud and memory. Every mile to Diego would be a battle, every step a testament to the love that refused to be swept away. The silence feels heavier than the storm itself as Sarah and Max finally reach Diego's quiet street. Days of searching, of battered hopes and whispered prayers, all lead to this doorstep. Yet the house is empty, windows dark, echoing with absence. Max presses his nose to the door, a soft whimper escaping, tail barely moving. Something is wrong, terribly wrong. A neighbor, her voice trembling, appears at the fence. "Diego's in the St. Mary's Hospital. He's been there for days. He hasn't woken up once." The words hang in the air, heavier than any thundercloud, and Max's eyes, full of a determination Sarah's never seen, lock on to the horizon. Their journey isn't over, it's only just begun. At St. Mary's Hospital, the night guard blocks their path. "No animals allowed," he insists, but the raw desperation in Sarah's voice and the sight of Max barely clinging to life soften his resolve. "This is a medical emergency," she pleads. "That little boy upstairs, he needs his dog." The guard hesitates, then nods, waving them through. The hospital corridors stretch endlessly, the scent of disinfectant sharp, the hum of machines a distant lullaby. Sarah's heart pounds with every step. Max's paws tap a nervous rhythm on the linoleum. Room 237. Through the glass, Diego's grandmother sits, clutching grandson hand, her face streaked with tears and exhaustion. Diego lies motionless, pale as moonlight, the steady beep of machines, the only sign that hope still lingers. Max moves forward, gentle, reverent, as if he knows this is sacred ground. The nurse hesitates, then opens the door. Max leaps onto the bed, nuzzles Diego's hand, and with infinite tenderness begins to lick each finger, just as he did when Diego was small and scared. The room is silent, breath held, as if the world itself is waiting. Then, a flicker. Diego's fingers twitch, almost imperceptible, but enough. Max's tail stirs, hope blossoming in the stillness. Rosa gasped, choking on tears. Sarah covered her mouth, trembling. Max settles beside Diego, head on his arm, breath warm and steady. He will not leave. Not now, not ever. The world outside is still battered by the storm, but in this small room, love has triumphed, at least for tonight. Time becomes meaningless. Day and night blur as Max lies by Diego's side, his presence a beacon of love and loyalty. Nurses pause at the door, drawn by the quiet miracle unfolding. Dr. Martinez, a man of science, finds himself believing in something more. On the second day, Diego's eyelids flutter. On the third, a whisper. Max. The sound is fragile, but it shatters the silence. The sound was hoarse, fragile, but powerful enough to pull everyone to tears. Joy erupts. Max trembles with happiness, licking Diego's face, careful not to disturb the tubes and wires, unable to contain his love. By the fourth day, Diego sits up, arms wrapped tight around Max's neck, face buried in familiar fur. The fever breaks, colour returns, and hope, real, tangible hope, fills the room. Dr. Martinez shakes his head in wonder. That dog, he brought your son back to us. On the fifth day, Diego, still weak but smiling, looks into Max's eyes and whispers, I knew you'd find me. Even in the dark, I could feel you calling me home. Max's answer is a soft whimper, a promise. I will always find you, no matter how lost, no matter how far. And then the day arrives. Discharge. The hospital gathers to watch, a parade of doctors, nurses, even the stern administrator, all blinking back tears. Diego walks slowly, one hand on Max's collar, the other clutching his mother's. Outside, sunlight bathes them in gold. Diego kneels, wraps his arms around Max and whispers, Thank you for never giving up on me. Max's tail wags so hard his whole body shakes, joy radiating from every fibre. The world watches, breathless, as boy and dog step into the light. In that moment, everyone understands. This is more than recovery. It is a miracle, born from the unbreakable bond of love. 3 months after that miraculous reunion, the world feels transformed for Diego and Max. The morning sun bathes Rosa's apartment in gold. Diego sits at the kitchen table, journal open, Max's head comfortably resting on his lap. The pages are filled with sketches and stories, each one a testament to the adventures, laughter, and healing they've shared since coming home. Today is 100 days since Max came back, Diego writes, his handwriting careful and hopeful. He still follows me everywhere, like he thinks I might disappear again. Max's tail thumps in response as if to say, not a chance. Rosa enters, carrying fresh tortillas and a smile that's become her daily signature. Sarah is coming today for her visit. Diego's eyes light up. Sarah isn't just a rescuer anymore, she's part of their family. Sarah arrives, and the transformation stuns her. Diego stands taller, his cheeks flush with health, his laughter ringing through the apartment. Max's coat gleams, his eyes bright with joy. Look what love can do, Sarah murmurs, overwhelmed. The three of them walk to the neighborhood park, the same place where Diego and Max once played as puppy and boy. Diego throws a tennis ball and Max races after it, a blur of golden fur and pure happiness. Children gather, drawn to Max's gentle spirit and Diego's infectious joy. Max is more than a pet now. He's a therapy dog, Diego tells Sarah with pride. We visit the children's hospital every week. Max helps kids who are scared or sad. Sarah's heart swells. The rescued has truly become the rescuer. As they sit watching Max play, Diego turns serious. Sarah, I want to help you save more dogs. I want to tell their stories so people understand. Sarah nods, teary-eyed. That's what the world needs, Diego. That evening, Diego records his first video on Rosa's phone, Max, by his side. My name is Diego and this is Max. We were both lost, but we found each other. Every dog deserves a second chance, just like we got. The video is simple, the lighting imperfect, but the emotion is unmistakable. Sarah helps post it online with the caption, "From the boy and dog who waited for each other, a message of hope." Within hours, it's flooded with views and comments, people sharing their own rescue stories, inspired by Diego and Max. Night falls. Diego and Max curl up together, just as they have for 100 nights. "Tomorrow we start helping other dogs find their families," Diego whispers. Max's tail thumps in agreement. Rosa stands in the doorway, heart full. She remembers the broken boy and the dying dog who found each other, and now, together, are ready to heal others. If Max's story touched you, you definitely don't want to miss the next journey on the Pawprint family. Next week, I'll tell you about a special dog who waited for his soldier to return for 3 years. Not 3 days, not 3 months, but 1,095 long days. The locals called him Ghost, the ghost of loyalty. Every morning and every night he sat in the same spot, looking towards the road where the soldier had gone. Could a miracle happen after all these years of waiting? And what kept the dog from giving up? Hit the notification bell now so you don't miss this true story. I guarantee you'll need some tissues. What do you think happened to the soldier and the dog? Take a guess in the comments.